Holy mother!
It's good to be back.
It is good to have his Digital John back in the house.
Digital John.
So you know, when Digital John is here, it means we must be going digital with the products that we're reviewing. How have you been, Mr. John?
I've been good, very busy. We're now back in working time of the year in October. Summer's done, fun's been had.
So you're teaching again, are you now?
No.
Okay,
no.
But you're doing lots of neural stuff, lots of
loads of
Chapman
producty stuff, making music, and digital as always.
Good man. Right. Anyway, before we get started, please like and subscribe to this channel. There will be some timestamps below, so perhaps there's a part of this video you'd like to fast forward to. You should find that information below. And if you want to look like Digital John with his very fetching hoodie or my t-shirt or any number of different types of merch items that we sell, again, links will be below. Right, back to the video. Last year, I think it was last year, maybe even beginning of this year, we did a shootout of all the affordable kind of multi-effects that we sell. And I say affordable, we were talking sort of like the £200 to £300 bracket. I vaguely remember we were looking at things like some of the cheaper Line 6 bits and bobs and
bits from Boss,
some Moore and
I want to say a Behringer unit or something like that.
Anyway, whatever. But the Valeton GP200 was our favourite. I've started using one of these in my office recently, and I must say I think it's very good.
Yeah. Great bit of kit.
At the end of the summer though, Boss released their highly anticipated ME90. Replaced the ME80 that had been in the catalogue for about 1,000 years. The same price as the GP200, so a little bit of change out of £300. And it kind of approaches the multi-effects thing in a different way.
Yeah, a lot more hands-on, dials the approach.
Yeah. So you'll see here, we don't have a colour screen with menus and stuff like that. We have a ye old-fashioned, slightly different display. So you've got this idea of a manual mode. So now what I'm actually doing is just stomping on and off individual pedals. Or if I go to memory mode, I do have this concept of banks and then different combinations of those effects within the banks. And this has been super popular as well.
Yeah, and that's almost I want to say 40 years old now, that kind of architecture from Boss. When was that first unit?
You're talking about, that's older than me.
Pete brought a unit in that was from like the dinosaur age, and it had the same kind of setup. Like, they've stuck with it.
Actually, Boss have always had, their multi-effects units have always been more popular when they've been in this kind of format than this format. So today's video is maybe less about which one sounds better.
Just different approaches to the same sort of thing.
Yeah, it's almost like, if you want to get into this, what are you going to be most familiar with? So, Mr. John.
Yes.
Before we get into the ME90, do you want to just give people the sort of like, how do you navigate your way around a GP200? By the way, at the moment what you're hearing is both units being switched with this little device here, going into this new and excellent little Fender Tone Master FR10 cab. So this is what's called a full range cab. So we are using all of the amp and cabinet emulation from within these devices. So what I will do though a bit later on is I'll unplug that and I'll put it into the front of a normal guitar amplifier, and we'll show you how these sound perhaps as more like pedal boards. But sorry, John.
So no, it's all right. So the Valeton first. This is a lot more visually oriented than the Boss ME90 over there, but it's still dials and foot switches. It's not a touchscreen. And as you can see, we've got a nice big display here where you can see the signal chain. There are a few different views that you can have, but at the minute we've chosen to have a nice big preset name, and you can see that as we change. What's evident is what's changing in the preset as well as what's engaged in the preset, and it's all at once on the screen. And I kind of like that about this unit. You can dive deeper. This main kind of dial here that says para for parameter. If you click that once, You've then got your signal chain where you can go in and scroll through, select your different amps, change them, clicking them in, and it's kind of like the main joystick, that thing. And that's the main gist of this. You've got deeper menus you can go into with global settings up here, and you've got some nice hands-on EQ controls for amplifiers and stuff that are always there, which is quite nice, just like on an amp. But then you've got all these foot switches, and kind of like we found this the first time when we did this video, nice little bits of attention to detail, how the second row is just a bit taller for the foot switches, so you're not gonna just hit the wrong thing at the wrong time. And nice sturdy expression pedal, and the thing's just built like a tank. We really like this unit. Yeah, we really do.
It's kind of permanently in this hybrid stomp mode, so you can assign the foot switches to do two different, there's a couple of different layouts for this. At the moment we're in this layout where the plus and the minus foot switches here are just going up and down through the patches. And then there are the 4 buttons across the top are turning individual effects on and off. This one here, we hold for the tuner or use as tap it to adjust the speed of the delay. This one over here, we hold for the looper. The other mode this could be in is more like, I suppose, the memory mode on here. So this would go up and down through the banks, and then you would get your 4
presets in that bank.
Presets within that bank, and then the idea with the control pedal, you just might have one pedal that you would turn on and off within there. So as I said, we've got this. So if you look on the display here, you'll see that is turning my preamp on and off. This is turning a distortion pedal on and off. This is turning modulation, and this one is doing the reverb at the end. And these are completely assignable. So these can turn off any effects that you want to within, and that can be different within each patch as well. Half of me feels like, why don't we just have a little listen to how this sounds? So we might as well go back to that. We heard the first patch, didn't we? I think the first patch is my favorite patch. I use this. All I've done in my office is taken that first patch, set 2 of the pedals to turn the distortion and the delay on and off, and that's all I use.
Good old Marshall British sound.
There are some shortcut keys along here. You can see these. So again, if I want to shortcut to the reverb, I press the reverb button. If I want to shortcut to the amplifier, I press the amp button. And again, you can see my various options down the side here.
It's nice having the visual aid of the screen to see what's happening when you press buttons, though. I really like that.
Both of these devices can be connected to a computer, and then you've got an on-screen editor which becomes even clearer and simpler. So let's just have a little listen to a few of these. This is the first patch, GP200.
Okay. '50s Plexi. Clean fuzz.
So you can see yellow denotes that you've switched the effect off, red denotes the effect is on. I've just noticed as well, of course, on the Valeton, you can name your patches, whatever you want to call them. The Boss, you've just got to try and remember what is U1 for user 1, P1 for preset 1. So look, what we're going to do the same kind of thing, a quick fly through maybe the first 4 patches on the Boss, show you how you switch between memory and manual mode. And then after that, I think we're going to try and just do a quick sort of patch creation so you can kind of get an idea which one feels like that you'd be more familiar with. So anyway, here is preset number 1 on the Boss. Again, we're using all this AIRD amp modeling technology that's within the Boss.
So a lot of oomph already in that, I couldn't not, I'm sorry.
I don't know if we'll get any clean ones in the first 4. We'll find out in a minute, but...
There we
Hurrah,
go.
some clean.
Nice.
Now, unlike the GP200 where you've kind of got this hybrid of patch up and down and then pedals on and off, on the Boss I need to switch between memory and manual mode. Single button switch. As soon as I'm in manual mode, which denotes the blue light here, you'll see each of these switches now corresponds to an effects pedal. So in some ways this is kind of better because as soon as I'm in manual mode I've actually got now 7 different things that I can turn on and off, and in other ways I think this is better because I don't have to change modes to be able to turn my pedals on and off. So that's for you to choose which one you feel more familiar with. So over here now, if I turn what can I turn? I can turn the reverb and the modulation off, and you'll hear, and the delay, a much drier tone. Put the reverb back in and the delay. Okay, so that's the idea. Now, we've done a deep dive video onto this. They'll both be below. So if you really want to get an idea of like, can I find out all the different sounds that these will do, then go and watch those. We're going to go back to the GP200 now and create a sound, and I'm gonna leave this to John to create the sound on the Valeton, and then we'll do the same on this one. You can kind of get an idea again as to which one feels easier.
Cool.
And we're not going to use the app to do either of these. Bearing in mind, I do think that certainly on the Valeton, I think the app really enhances the experience because you just get this screen but bigger.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, off you go.
Okay, so let's do a new patch. I'm going to go back from the first patch, and then we're on this 64th bank.
64D?
So
wow.
in 64D...
That was a good weekend.
So that you could presumably overwrite a different one if you wanted to. You've just gone back to find some blank patches.
Yeah.
Okay.
So opening it up, you see everything's bypassed. We're going to start with the amp, so I'm just going to click the amp button.
Why would you do that? Typically start with the amp, just out of interest.
Just because that's the kind of heart and soul of a guitar sound, really, isn't it? And usually,
I guess because we're using an FR cab. I suppose if we
that's a good point.
If we were running into a normal amplifier, you'd just set it up like a normal pedal.
Right. Yeah. If we were going into like the front end or return 4 cable, however you want to do it, the amp is the amp. But for now, amp's on. Let's go.
Oh, I see. So you got.
Let's do Voxy.
Hundreds of different amp. I mean, again, what have we got on the, just to compare, on the Boss, we've got 11 different amplifiers. Is it about the same on here, or a couple more?
I want to say there's about
quite a lot more actually out there. Fair enough.
Everything from
a lot
like
more
acoustic preamp type, things, all the way to clean Fendery stuff and all the high gains. So, but I'm going to go Voxy because I like. Sorry, Foxy. That's a bit more political, isn't it? Cab. Let's do a cab. Let's do Foxy 2. There we go. It's matched the cab already. Nice and easy. And that sounds like this. Let's go back to the amp. Again, I'm flying around this because you can just tap the bit you want to go to. Oh, turn it off there. Then you've got the control. So let's bring in the gain a bit. Let's brighten it. Let's see how powerful that control. Yeah, it really does brighten it, darken it rather. So, there we go, that's what I was looking for. Bright switch.
That's a really great shout there. So you can see down here, you've got this concept, depending on the effects that you're on, you've got these sort of 2 pages of controls that you're switching. See these little white dots here? Now, once you're sort of familiar with this, I guess it becomes second nature to go there. The reason I think the Boss ends up having so many people that are drawn to this is you can't. There are no menus
Hidden
or
menus,
pages.
yeah.
It's just like that's it. If I'm on, what were you on the amp setting? So if I've chosen my amp, and all I can do is adjust these 5 knobs here. I'm not going, oh, hang on, where do I scroll to the next page?
Yeah.
So I do, and that's not necessarily a criticism of the Valeton. That's like every pedal that's like this will have some element of going, am I on the right page to adjust the parameter I want to? And obviously on the Boss, that's not the case. So sorry to interrupt.
Different approaches. Okay, so let's leave that as it is. Now, dist. Actually, no, I'm actually going to do a pre.
Are you?
Compress it a bit. Without. Just gives it a bit more oomph.
And this particular compressor is very simple. It's just got sustain and volume here on that. There's no second page, as you can see from here, and you just use the 2 knobs underneath the corresponding
and
display.
I'm not really going to tweak it. I think it sounds good. I mean, you've got loads of stuff here. You've got, ring modulators, and all sorts, but I'm going to leave that as it is. I
think, again, on that front, if you want to know what effects are in both of these devices, again, links below to the specs. I suspect if you go down this route, and again, it doesn't have to be the Valeton, but there'll just be way more stuff in it in terms of numbers of effects. And the Boss clearly is limited at some point to just how much space is there to screen print stuff and fit knobs on.
They fit a lot on that, to be fair.
They've fitted a lot on, but there'll be even more if you go down the kind of the digital sort of screen route. Okay,
so reverb. Nice and easy. I just threw on that was a room. Let's go.
We need more.
Yeah, more is more. Let's go plate. Let's give it a bit of a decay. Trail on. We like trails. That's a bit much.
A bit. I do like on the Valeton that one of the controls, or the set of controls that they give you that are always to hand, regardless of what page you're on menu-wise, are these 6 here, which are your sort of basic amp controls. So on that particular tone, if you think, it is a bit bassy or it's not bright enough, whatever, you don't have to go back to the amp page within the parameter. You can just dial it in. Different variants of this. I think that's relatively common on these kind of multi-effects devices, but I do keep saying, I think the Valeton has been really well thought out in this. Anyway,
really
sorry. So what do you got? You got some reverb, some amp sounds. You can have a bit of distortion or something.
Yeah. So now let's go dist. And that's thrown on a green OD. Wonder what that is. Without.
When we save this, what we'll do is, if we throw on a delay as well, we'll just show you how easy it is to assign the delay and the distortion pedal to be, 2 of your on-off switches. So look, it's good sounding. I must admit, when you went for Vox, I was thinking, oh no, car crash. Because like Vox models are notoriously, unrealistic sounding.
Right.
That sounds good.
What I like about digital units is that no one really pushes a Vox all the way, because it's very hard to do in real life. But on this, you can, I think, what did I do on the volume of that Vox? Well, it's not massively high, but if you push the gain and the volume, you can get that Vox sound that no one really has in person because it's annoying for everyone else around. But so Vox again, tube screamer. I mean, let's just because we can. Modulation.
Oh, you're putting some
full
80s.
Yeah.
So the second page has a sync. Now, there's quite a lot of the modulation effects on this. You can. I've got to try and remember what it's syncing to. It's either syncing to the delay or it's syncing to the actual.
I see what you mean.
As in your rhythm playing. But anyway, I kind of liked that second one.
Nice, I'm happy with
Fine.
that.
Bit of delay, or you're not bothering with delay?
Yeah, again, we can. Let's throw it in.
One of the things I don't think you can do on the Valeton, apologies Valeton if you can, I don't think you can change the order.
I haven't found a way
pedals
to. No.
I think it's sort of preset. I think that's quite I think it's preset on the, unless you can do it in the app. I don't think you can do it in the boss as well, but hey ho. Right, let's get...
Just a nice, or BBD, I was going to say.
BBD, you got BBD, there we go.
Just mixed down a bit. I'm pretty happy with that.
Okay, are we saving that?
Yeah, let's save it.
So we'll save that. Obviously we can save it in a different location if we want to, but we don't want to, so I'm going to hit it again. I can call it another name, which we mentioned before, but that just takes time, so let's just save. Right, so 64D we've got to remember. So we did say we would just quickly assign a couple of effects to these controls. So can we get like a distortion and a well, you decide what you're going to assign.
Okay, so my plan, the pre-pedal here, so that'll be that blue one, distortion, modulation, delay and reverb, because you can assign multiple things to one thing. So I'm just going to go in the patch and just bypass these for now. So pre, mod, delay.
Oh, I see. So you start with them all turned off.
Yeah,
and
just
then
for now.
essentially you assign them to which one. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go up and you'll see I've highlighted this top bit. Click the parameter, control settings. Now for control one, I want that to be
the pre.
Control 2, missed it, dist, control 3, modulation, control 4, delay, missed it again, reverb. So when I go,
have you just done two pedals then on one control?
Yeah. So control.
So you can have what one control pedal can turn off more than one effect at a time if you want to. Amazeballs.
Really nifty.
So that's it, is it? I don't have to save anything. I just come out of here.
Yeah. So actually, let's just save it for peace of mind.
Well, yes, you never know. Always worth saving stuff, isn't it?
And you'll see if you make any change to anything, the
little asterisk comes up, doesn't it, on the name?
So refreshing the patch.
So now this will give me some what over here? Yeah, delay and reverb came up. That's cool. And then this was modulation.
Easy as
Oh
that.
man, that's very clever. So brilliant. And that control thing is per patch, isn't it? So each patch, those four things can assign different things. So look, a very, very usable piece of kit there, GP200. Let's do the same now on the ME90. So I've essentially switched everything off. You can see now there's no lights on the top here, no lights here. So that was a bit like we did the first thing there where we just turned all of these little blocks off. So we'll do the same thing. We'll start with an amplifier. So I turn the amp on and then I choose my amp here. So let's have, I don't know if there is, Diamond is probably Voxy, isn't it? Let's try that. I can obviously set EQ levels and now on the ME90, it pre-selects the appropriate cab emulation on here. It's a bit different without going into too much detail. So on the GP200, you can elect to have the cabinet on or off, and that obviously is useful depending on what you want to plug into. You can even set this so that one of the outputs has the cab emulation on it, and one of the outputs doesn't have the cab emulation on it. So if you want one output going to front of house, the other output going to an amp on stage, you can. The Boss is a bit different. So the Boss, you pre-select on here whether or not you want to use the line output, which does then have cabinet emulation, or there's a switch on the back that says, no, I'm going to plug it into a guitar amplifier, and then you don't get cab emulation. I don't think, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, I don't think you can assign one output to have cab emulation and one not, unless you can do it in the app. I'm not sure. Anyway, so we're back here. There was our Vox sound. I'm going to just try and emulate what you did over here. So I'm going to put a little bit of reverb on. So turn the reverb on. Reverb is up here. You'll notice this light up here has come on now. And again, you can see the LED changing as I move this around. Got three types of reverb: hall, room, and spring. You do find a couple of effects like delay and reverb are actually duplicated in these banks. So if you wanted to have multiple reverbs or multiple delays, it's possible. What does that sound like, Mr. John? Is that a suitable reverb?
Here we go.
Does that sound like that? It doesn't sound terribly voxy to me, but maybe it doesn't matter. Then we might add some, you put a compressor on, didn't you? So I put a compressor on, here we go. Actually on this comp block here, you'll see there are lots of other effects here, octaves and stuff like that, but then we'll put some compression on, and again, I can adjust some controls around the compressor.
Here we go.
Sustain, attack and level, so let's have a bit more sustain. You did a tube screamer, didn't you? I think, from memory. Lots of chorus. You don't have to have all these on at the same time, but. And some delay. So let's just switch between the two. Okay, if I want to save that now, I hit the right button, defaults me to the user section of the unit. I can choose to save it in a different bank. Obviously, I choose my 1 to 4 along here, and then I save it. So that's it. And now essentially, now I'm back in memory mode, when I come back to number 1, it will save that, and it will, even though it's perhaps visually a bit misleading, it will remember where all the knobs were that I set it. So you can have obviously, hundreds of different sounds here with the knobs setting different positions, and it will remember that. Is there you as the user, I mean, you're quite familiar with this kind of kit. Do you have a sort of objective view as to whether one is better than the other from an editing point of view?
I think, to be very Swiss about this, I don't think it's about better.
Yeah.
It just is about different approaches to things. I like a good visual aid with stuff, and kind of not to hear with your eyes when dialing in sounds or anything. I think that's what's good about the Boss. You genuinely dial in sounds with how it sounds rather than picking a visual of an amp model, which is great. But I like the menu parameters on that, how you can see how things are coming in and out. Where you don't really see that with the Boss, like you mentioned. But,
I think this next part of the demo is really where it's going to separate the usability of the two. So I think now, for a DI'd sound like we're doing now, whether it's straight into a desk or into an FRFR, where you are jumping between presets, I think the GP200 is the more versatile, better suited for that sort of thing. Right. However, we're just going to plug straight into the front of an amplifier now, and now I just want this to replicate my pedal board. And I suspect that's now where the Boss ME90 is going to feel a bit more intuitive to use. But anyway, let's plug it in. Okay, we now have both units into an amplifier. I have switched the output mode on the ME90 to be guitar amp mode. And all we've got to remember to not do on the GP200 is enable the cabinet emulation. I say that, it's one of those, it's not a hard and fast rule. If you like the sound better with the cabinet emulation on, leave the cabinet emulation on, but you don't need to. Anyway, so that's just to give you an idea. This is straight through the ME90 and straight through the GP200. Okay, so GP200, same basic concept goes. We're going to use presets to choose which pedals we want, and then we're going to assign the ABCD to be which actual effects do I want to switch on and off. So I guess again it's the same kind of concept as going, do you program presets for songs that you're doing and then just turn the effects on and off, or whatever you want to do. So Mr. John, let's just choose our favorite. I would have maybe a couple of different types of overdrive. Actually, in fairness, can you even do 2 different overdrives on this?
That's a good point. I don't.
Because you can't, you can't on this. I was thinking about that actually. Of course, that would be my normal pedal board. So there's a challenge. I think the only way we can do that is maybe to use pre for one and distortion for the other. Is that what's in pre? So you've got some boost, so that's okay.
Yeah.
I would do that. Find me a sort of a boosty, like an EP boost or a Spark or something like that. What's it? Fat BB boost with a bit of, right, what does this actually sound like? Let's okay, well, it's got tons of boost here. Probably don't need that much, but we're going to have a boosty kind of pedal. Then we're going to have an overdrive pedal.
All right.
I'm not a big Tube Screamer fan, so I might have something different. What have we got option-wise?
Blues OD4s, Blues Master OD, Tai Chi.
Timmy. I love a Timmy. Oh, that's not very heavy overdrive though, so it might be, but let's have a listen, see what it sounds like.
Okay, so for now.
And I can boost into the Timmy, so this is without. Probably need to gain that boost up a bit more, maybe a bit more. And then I'll have some reverb and some delay.
Okay.
Delay next, I guess, and then some reverb.
Bucket Brigade.
Yeah. So John now is going to assign those effects. The way we'd have to do this, so we've got 4 buttons. I don't know if we've said previously in the video that this control button here can be used to turn on and off effects. It can't. It's always sort of preset to do something along this top line. So whether it would be loopers or drum machines or another sort of patch up and down thing. So we've got 4 buttons that we can assign to change effects with. I've got 5 effects, so I can either just elect to have one effect always on, or I can choose on these 4 to get one of them to do more than one thing. But I'm just going to have reverb always on. So if you could just do the preamp boost, the distortion, modulation and delay for me, that would be marvelous.
Okay.
So here is my sound now. Obviously I would normally rename this whatever it's going to be for my wedding band or whatever it is that I'm doing. What is it? Mustang Sally. Here we go. And then I've got my 4 pedals that I just switch on and off like I would from a normal pedal board. And again, I can have 100 different presets with 4 different pedals or whatever combination I want to do here. So let's just have a little listen. Here's my clean sound with just some reverb. Pump a bit of distortion. Maybe I want to boost that up a bit. We'll have a bit of delay on there. Or maybe I just want clean with some delay and chorus. I think it's probably worth saying we're not trying to create amazing sounding patches here. We're just showing you kind of how it works. Before we jump over to the ME90 and just do the same thing on there are some other features on the Valeton which is cool. It's got a looper which you can press and hold that to trigger the looper. You've got drum machine in here which is you've got loads of different drum tracks that you can do. It's pretty cool. I said and for those on either a budget or just looking for something smaller, the GP200 has 2 baby brothers that are actually the same processor in it, so you can do everything that we've done here, but you just have less switches, and on one of them I think you lose the expression pedal.
Yeah.
But check out links below, look at all the GP200s from the LT, the JR and the full 200 version, because great units, and price that whole price range is between £200 and £300. Right, ME90. This won't take half as long now, and I guess that is the beauty of the ME90. I start in manual mode and I go, I would like a distortion, and I hit the distortion, and then I choose which distortion I want. I don't know what you got. Let's have a blues overdrive, and that's it. So here's my blues overdrive sound. And that's it. I turn it on and off like that. That pretty quick, right? People, I think, the very early versions of these ME boards were analog circuits, the same as having individual pedals. That's not been the case for the last 2 or 3 iterations of this. This is all a digital emulation of a Boss pedal. Not saying that's bad, just for clarity's sake, it's not the same as a Boss pedal. We might want some reverb on over here. Again, it's ever so easy to do. We might want some delay. I mean, again, it's much the same as, to be honest, setting this up is basically the same as I was setting up
set of pedals. Yeah.
a set of pedals. I can sort of emulate what the GP200 does if I'm happy to jump in between memory and manual mode. I can obviously have like 100 different combinations of my favorite 7 pedals, and then as I jump between memory and manual mode, I'll be able to turn them off individually. But I think as a straightforward pedal board, this is a nice way of doing that. So again, whilst you play, I'll just dump some stuff in and out. So we'll start with some clean stuff. I mean, obviously you'll notice I'm not going anywhere near the preamp section here. That's the same as not going anywhere near the amp section over here. I kind of feel like, you know, the fact that it took us maybe like 10 minutes to explain how to set this up in stock mode here, and we didn't even really explain it here. It was just obvious.
It's a win for the Boss there, yeah.
It does lead you to sort of go, well, that's obviously why. In terms of sound, I'm not convinced either one is sounding any better than the other.
Yeah, they're both great.
Do you have any?
I think in this scenario, it's more dependent on the amp for the tone, but from the actual amp models, I'd go Valeton, I think. But again, there are going to be some on the Boss that I prefer as well. We've only listened to a few in this video. So.
Yeah. So there you go. Hope you found that useful. Again, if you want to hear extended playing clips of either of these units, please go below and watch the deep dive we've done on these. Yeah. Thank you so much, Digital John.
Anytime.
It's a pleasure seeing you again.
Anytime.
Thank you for joining us as well. Hope you found this informative and it helps you spend your money more wisely, hopefully with Andertons. And yes, we shall see you in another video soon.
Like and subscribe.
No, it's still wrong. Still the wrong way around.